Welcome back to the IH Sports Network Roundtable. We are live from El Rey. You've still got time to come out and join us tonight. El Rey does not close until 9 tonight. There are a few empty tables around here. It's been crowded tonight, guys. A lot of folks out enjoying the holiday and stopping in, but there's room for you here if you want to stop on by. All right, now it's time for the best part of the show, and that's where we bring back some of the, can I say it, the old-timers.
Yeah, you can say it now.
Our Black Cat Legends of the Game. We got two this week, one from Sky High and one from Oneida, and Tim is going to be talking to Mike Swain, who is our Oneida Legend of the Game. So, Tim.
That's right, Ben. And I will mention Black Cat. They're going to have the music on Main this weekend. They're going to have a chili cook-off 6 to 9. So we appreciate the Black Cat sponsoring the Legends of the Game. And Mr. Mike Swain, I am very thankful that you agreed to come here and talk to us, a Legend of the Game. Yep. So you played from 1962 to 1965.
Yeah.
And you were in a part of Oneida era when it made it tough on everybody else because there was so much success going around. You kind of followed. We talked with Caden Rector, his great grandfather, Bill Jacobs. He had an incredible run.
My first coach, by the way. 8th grade, 2 8th graders got to go out for the high school team because we had the same principal in middle school and high school. So Bill Jacobs was my first coach.
And what position did you start out at?
End.
And did you stay in the end, or?
I stayed at the end of the ends. No, I did not stay at end. Next year, Coach Daniel, first year, I became a quarterback, sort of.
Yeah, for Coach Ben Daniel.
Yeah.
And that was his first year.
Let me
Go ahead.
start first
Absolutely.
by saying congratulations on the 30th anniversary of the state championship. That was special. 1991, however, I was at the end of the field when Jimmy Barna hit that ball, and it was good.
Well, I know the radio
officials. The officials didn't agree with me, but I saw it from directly behind the play, and it was good, which would have meant we would have gone to state in '91 as well.
Right.
As I recall.
You're correct. It was at Donaldson Christian down there.
Yeah.
So just missed. So well, that was the officials' version of it. So let's talk about playing. When did you decide to play football? What about it?
I think I was 4.
Yeah.
I had shoulder pads and a helmet on when I was 4 in a 4-year-old picture, and I just played football. My dad was a baseball guy, but I somehow just wanted to play football all my life.
And what about those teams 62 through 65 and some of the folks that you played with? I mean, the success, and I've got the list of the teams here, that came during that time. You had bowl games, you had a lot of success, and a lot of good players around you as well.
No classifications, of course, then. That came in Rick's era.
Exactly.
And but tradition was big time. Oneida football was a good story and a long story, a long tradition, and we felt like that we had to carry it on. I mean, there was some responsibility for us to behave in the way that our former leaders did.
Was there a particular player as you were growing up, an Indian that you watched, that you admired, that you can remember seeing play for?
Well, I brought my list.
Let's get to the notes.
Wait. Excuse me.
Yeah,
Wait,
by all
I
means.
I may have to
Well,
adjust here.
I'm sure I will too.
The reason I brought my list because I don't want to forget anybody that meant something to me. Of course, I remember 00 in 1958 when I was playing behind the bleachers. I watched the game for about a minute, and then I'd go play behind the bleachers. And Donnie Carson and Dennis Sexton were special, and they signed with Kentucky. Jack Chitwood, Cecil Bernard Chitwood. He was a city boy. He lived in Oneida.
Yeah.
And Jack from Winfield. Danny Cross, Dr. Danny Cross, the pharmacist, was a special player, and we forget that he had a stellar career at Oneida. Billy Webb, Sam Galloway, Russell Cotton, Captain Danny Cross. I mentioned Danny Cross 3 times, I think, but Captain Danny was a Marine Corps captain and from Winfield. Kenny Bruton, Brom Shoemaker, Ronnie Boer, who raised me in the secondary. He was, I was a sophomore and he was a senior, and he just told me what to do.
Yeah.
And show up at the right place. Malin Bratcher, and I must say something about cue ball. Now, I don't know if anybody remembers Oliver Jones, but Oliver Cue Ball Jones, named by our former mayor, Denzel Pennington. I don't know why he named him Cue Ball, but he did. But Q came to me and said, had this cup, and it was yellow inside. And he said, Mike, would you like to try this? And I said, Q, I've seen you go around the room, and nobody, one of your friends, will attempt to take a sip of that. And he said, well, somebody's got to, and I promise it's not that bad. So I took a sip, and it was not that good.
Yeah.
But that was the first electrolytic drink that I ever had, and he had developed the recipe before Gatorade.
Wow.
That came from Oneida High School. National Merit Scholar, though.
So it should have been Indian Aid.
Indian
We
Aid, that's
missed
right.
out on all these royalties.
Yeah. I didn't mean to say Gator.
Yeah,
either.
exactly. So can I ask you questions around football? Was football, like, where did it rank on the social order of here's what we're going to do on Friday night around town in those days?
I remember in 1957 when I was in the 4th grade or 5th grade or something like that, we played in the Briar Bowl in Somerset, and there was scheduled a caravan to go up 27, the old 27, all the way to Somerset for the bowl game. Well, the caravan was so long we couldn't get it in the parking lot. I mean, it was the county, it seemed, was headed to Somerset.
Yeah.
So that it meant a lot. It was a big social event. Everything focused on the. Of course, we also had Huntsville High School, and my wife is sitting out there, and she went to Huntsville and coached by Jack Diggs. She played for Jack Diggs in basketball. Great basketball coach.
And very successful in doing so.
Very successful. They lost one game their senior year.
So
What's
we weren't
that
supposed to
mean?
mention that one, apparently.
Okay.
So we're supposed to stick to football. Okay. So who was the rival of these teams? What, or give me 2 or 3 rivals through these eras. Huntsville number one,
of course. My junior year, we lost to Huntsville down there for the first time in 34 years, I think. And it was a very combative team. They were a machine. I think we lost 13-7 or something like that. But I do also remember throwing a pass to Larry West. By the way, Larry West didn't play for us.
That's right. I wasn't going to let you forget that, Mike, just in case you did.
So it was not the best of time that night.
but you bounced back the senior year.
We bounced back the senior year, and I may have heard Jack Diggs say the most embarrassed he's ever been, because we won 43-6, I think.
So the Huntsville Oneida rivalry, was there other minor rivals at the time, or pretty much that was it?
That was pretty much it. Jacksboro, La Follette, both of those teams were we're decent usually.
What about, you said there was no classifications. Was there some teams that you couldn't get over the hump against? They were just too powerful that maybe why were we playing this powerful a team that you remember?
Well, we scheduled York a couple of times. York came over to play in our Civic Bowl, which was the biggest game of the year for us, of course, the postseason bowl game. And York was always big, always powerful. I remember in the bowl game, I think I went back for a pass, and they had a defensive end. It was like 6'4", 3,000 pounds or something like that. And I hit him in the helmet with the ball. So that was not my greatest moment, but ended up coming back. We played them the next year, and we had our comeuppance.
Oh. What would be your average pass attempts a game, you think?
Attempts. I'm glad you mentioned that, not completion percentage. I don't, 12 to 15.
Okay.
Depending on the opponent. We changed completely from Oneida offense my senior year. It would be considered, I think, a run-pass option offense. It was based on the sprint out, me getting the ball under center and sprinting to the right or to the left. A lot of counter plays as well to take advantage of the sprint.
Yeah.
Either way, and it worked. We worked hard in the spring to put it in, and I remember one 3-hour practice in spring practice, and it was tough.
Did you have a favorite receiver, a security blanket type receiver like we talked about with Caden?
Yeah. Charlie King. Charlie's not around here anymore, but also Paul Roy. Not necessarily my favorite, but Paul was Paul kept us all in stitches, of course. And then Jim Morrow. Frank West, out of the backfield. And I got to tell you the story about the bowl game. We played, my senior year, we played the Seymour team, the KIL champions, I think. And they came over, and they warmed up on our field, and then came out for the game and changed into their brand new sparkling uniforms. Well, we ended up beating them 47-6. Our best game by far. Jimmy Chambers, our co-captain with me, had a wonderful defensive game, and he was a guard and offensive game as well. But Keith Bull Sexton ran 90 yards for a touchdown in that game. But it took him pretty much half the month of November. I think I threw 2 blocks on the way for his to the end zone. I got one in, and then he was still going, and he was the Energizer Bunny before there was Energizer Bull, I guess is what he was.
And that was your finale, the big win.
That was it.
No, tell me what, after game, what was Friday night? After the game, what was
Phillips Drive-In.
Phillips Drive-In. Did you take anybody there?
Well,
we didn't have Elbridge.
it's Phillips Drive-In is not where we think of it as now.
Okay.
It's up at the 4-lane where State Farm Insurance is at.
Right, exactly.
So that was the spot.
And the pole used to be painted orange. And his pole's still there, but just hinting around just in case somebody had a can. Well, never mind.
All right. Now, I do want to shift to one other thing, because there's something that's very close to your heart that I believe. You know, I'm throwing that belief out here. It's the soccer, and the growth of soccer in Scott County. We just interviewed a couple of young ladies from Scott High. We do feature each week on soccer. Talk about how you've seen soccer grow, and surely that is something that you are pleased with.
Yes, I'm very pleased with where we are and the results the young people have gotten in the last several years, especially. I did approach Jim May when we moved back home to be an assistant coach, or to help in any capacity in football. And at the time, he very politely said, "We can't have non-faculty coaches." And you would be considered that. And he said, "I appreciate your enthusiasm." But the next thing I knew, I was asked to be a youth a youth soccer coach, and I said yes. And our boys played, and I fell in love with the sport and worked hard at learning to be as good a coach since we didn't have soccer and didn't play it. And so it's been a great experience, and I met Pele and shook his hand. Pele's some say the greatest soccer player of all time. Got to go to all the big cities and stuff like that, doing training and following coaches around and trying to learn something. So I'm very pleased with where we are recreationally and high school.
To my mind, you've been the leading advocate for it. That's why I ask about the soccer, and I think it opens up doors for so many more kids to advance and do things, and it's just a great thing.
And we know too that kids that play multiple sports are better at the sport they eventually choose than kids who don't. So it's important that we give the opportunity to all the kids when they're young to play as many sports as they can. It's hugely important.
All right. Mike Swain, you got any more notes? Anything else you want to say?
No, I've already talked about the Oneida aid. I guess that was my. I do remember. I have to say this because my wife, Kevin, will appreciate this as well. Tommy Wright was not a starter. He was a year ahead of me, I believe, 2 years ahead of me, but he rarely got in the game. He was a great supporter, great practice player, but he never got into the game. And I still, to this day, when Tommy got into the game and he ran that little hitch route, and I hit him with it, and he caught it, I still remember that to this day. It was special for both of us.
All right. Mike Swain, Oneida legend tonight. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, Mike, we appreciate you stopping by and joining us, and we've got one more legend of the game to go. We do not unveil these folks ahead of time, so you've met Mike Swain. Now, who's the Scott High legend of the game going to be? I think it's someone Rick knows very well, and we're all going to know him when we come back from this break.
But I don't think he likes me, though. But